During her tenure in Congress, Nancy Pelosi saw lots of government shutdowns, and this week we broke a new record with the current shutdown becoming the longest ever. So the previous record was set during Trump's first administration, but Wednesday, after a shellacking at the polls, which we'll talk about here shortly, the president admitted in a meeting with Senate Republicans that their party is being blamed. As such, he pushed for leadership in the upper chamber to eliminate the filibuster. He received support on this front from Indiana Senator Jim Banks, who went on Newsmax to argue for GOP maximalism on all matter of legislation. Now, one of the casualties of this shutdown has been food aid, which we've been, tracking consistently here the last several weeks, with the administration refusing to fund SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Aid Program. That is food aid for children, the elderly, and the disabled. And Friday, the Supreme Court, in a decision written by Katanji Brown Jackson, of all people, granted the regime's emergency appeal to block a lower court order to fully fund the program. Now, a judge had given the Republican administration until Friday to make the payments through SNAP, but the administration asked an appeals court to suspend any court orders requiring it to spend more money than is available in a contingency fund, and instead allow it to continue with planned partial SNAP payments for the month. Now, a couple Indiana angles on the shutdown that I want to throw in here. So, a health agency in the state, this is from the Capitol Chronicle. The Indiana Department of Health is facing furloughs because of the shutdown. And in Indianapolis, the airport is among 40 to be impacted by the FAA's capacity cuts and flight cancellations. So, Ross, I guess, what jumps out to you in the shutdown this week? I'm particularly concerned that Justice Brown Jackson is the one writing this opinion.
Well, I wouldn't be, honestly. She actually did a good thing. If you understand the procedures of the shadow docket and the way it works, it goes randomly to a justice. And if the justice doesn't rule upon it, the rest of the justices have an opportunity to overrule them, essentially, and go en banc, or have all of them decide. What she did was, yes, she granted it, but she put a time limit on it. She said you have to get this done expeditiously. If she had not done that, if she had said I'm not going to grant this stay, then Alito would have said, well, I am, and I'm going to make it I'm not going to put any time limits on it. Take all the time you want to figure it out. And then they would have dragged it and dragged it and dragged it in the court. So I too, when I saw that initially, said, what the heck? But if you look at it logically, she did really the best thing she could do in that situation, which is, yes, I'm going to grant your stay, but it is a limited stay. And she put parameters on it that the fascist wing of the Supreme Court would not have done. So that it all made sense when I looked at it that way.
Oh, well, thanks for clarifying for me. That I guess assuages some of my concerns. Yeah, but Leslie, I mean, SNAP is still not being fully funded. People are not receiving their benefits in a timely manner. Some people aren't receiving them at all. Folks still need to eat. No.
Yeah, and I think that hunger is a real concern, and a lot of children are negatively impacted by this, and weaponizing hunger and weaponizing the poor to get your ill gains, which is taking the health care or, making the premiums rise and shutting down the government because you're hoping that the Epstein file issue is going to go away, which it doesn't look like it's going to go away. They need to have a come to Jesus moment and get this all out in the open. And because it's never going to go away. I don't think it's ever going to go away, and it shouldn't go away. It is a crime. And I sit here during the week and think, what is it about accruing so much money that makes these rich men want to violate every ethical and social norm that we have as a species, and to do these things to children, and then to just think they can just throw money at the issue and it goes away. And they have too much money. They have too much money, and they need to start acting like a real human being. And Mike Johnson, who never had to run a competitive race, who basically was shoehorned into his position. Again, like you say, Ross, not qualified to do his job, just doing what this old demented man who can't even find his way to the Oval Office, who falls asleep during meetings, who stands up when somebody's having a seizure and wants the attention back on himself. I mean, what is the GOP's legacy going to be? They could turn this ship around if they, and they need to. They need to, or they're going to be thrown overboard eventually.
Yeah. Well, okay, so obviously the Republicans, are blaming us, the Democrats, for this shutdown, saying, well, Democrats are withholding votes in the Senate that Republicans need to reopen the government now. Friday, Senate Majority Leader John Thune swatted down a Democratic offer to reopen the government and extend the expiring healthcare subsidies for a year, calling it a non-starter as the impasse continued into its 38th day. The Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, made this offer to reopen the government on Friday, as Republicans have refused to negotiate on these demands. So, what you have here is Democrats are refusing to give the Republicans their votes unless the majority party extends Affordable Care Act subsidies to keep people's health insurance premiums at a reasonable rate, and even that is a stretch. So it is, let us jack up the price of your health care, or we will starve you. I mean, these are basically the parameters of this negotiation. So I guess with that, Ross, I ask, I mean, should the Democrats, here you see Schumer, floating, offering an olive branch, should the Democrats hold firm, or should they roll over on this? We've seen some quote unquote moderate Democrats like John Fetterman, like Alyssa Slotkin, in there pushing to reopen things now and negotiate later. What do you say to that strategy?
I hope John Fetterman is never going to be leading policy for our party ever again. Number one. Number two, I obviously the answer is hold firm, and it is refreshing to me as a low level, county guy here, to see that the consulting class is being ignored. Because I guarantee you the consulting class from the beginning has said, you got to fold, you got to fold, you got to fold. You're going to get blamed. You're going to get blamed. And in the past, we've seen again and again and again where bold leadership was needed, that caution was taken, again, because political consultants and people of that ilk have really misread the room. The reality is, what people want is people that will stand up for what they believe in, where people will not cave to extortion. That's not what people want to see. And look, yeah, you can go to somebody who's ill-informed and say, oh, the government doesn't want to feed people, the Democrats don't want to feed people, or what. People want you to stand up, and you can't be extorted. So I think it's clear we should stand our ground. I think that, look, if you want a compromise and say let's do this for 6 months or a year, that's a reasonable compromise. Well, okay, we'll figure it out later. But to say we'll just capitulate, give you what you want, and then hope that I've actually seen that from a couple of people say, hey, just go ahead and agree and then negotiate.
Yeah.
Well, that's the stupidest thing
Oh,
I ever heard. The only leverage you have is that they need your vote. So
right
obviously
now.
you can't do it. So I think it's a good sign for the health of the party that we're standing our ground, and I hope it continues.
And Leslie, like in Tuesday's elections result, which we're going to talk about in just a moment here, are any indication, Republicans are getting the blame for this. Are they, as our Senator Mr. Banks suggests, are they going to go ahead and press forward with eliminating the filibuster to open the government back up, or do they need to keep the filibuster so they can avoid doing any actual real work?
Yeah, I don't I just think that Jim Banks wants to eliminate the filibuster for this, but then of course, when the Democrats have power, they're not going to like that. It is eliminated. But the real issue, yeah, it is power, and we do not need to cave. We've been caving and being kind and trying to be understanding, and they've just been railroading us for far too long. And just remember, John Thune was one of those senators who went over to Russia on the 4th of July. So I don't know, I don't want anybody to forget that. But what I think too is that the Republicans have just done their dirty tricks one too many times. You can't fool all of the people all of the time. And now the people have been seeing with the protests, it is the time to stand up. And they see this obscene wealth inequality, Elon Musk possibly becoming the world's first trillionaire. For what? And it is just absolutely absurd. We need to stand up. People are standing up. They are going to continue to stand up. And we are going to fight for our democracy, because democracy is the best option that we have, that the majority of the people have.